Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Restoring Hope with Crosswinds Counseling. I'm your host, Curtis Smith. Thank you all so much for joining us tonight. And as always, a huge thanks to our community partners who make it possible for us to be here each week. Tesco, Prime 47 Downtown, and Shepherd Community Center. The support of those tremendous companies makes it possible for us to be here every Thursday night on WHMB TV 40. As always, we have a great show for you tonight, and leading us off is Jeff Cardwell. Jeff is the president and founder of People Helping People Network and the owner of Cardwell Do It Best. Jeff, thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Let's talk about the People Helping People Network. For those who don't know what that is, what is your organization?
Well, the People Helping People Network is focused on what we call the hope equation. There's really four pillars to what we do. It's housing, hunger relief, healthcare, and education. We started this journey really with my first trip, going on a mission trip, really with my church. One that I really wasn't wanting to go on. It was in the summertime. You know, and the youth
This is
pastor.
how mission work almost always is told. I didn't want to do it. I didn't think I should be there, got dragged there, and God did an amazing work.
Did an amazing thing. It just changed my life forever. I mean, everything in my life since that point, back in June of 2000, has had a thread through that first mission trip. And it really just changed my life. And that first trip was in El Salvador. We've been working in El Salvador and been there ever since. So for the last 20 plus years, we've been building houses, providing hunger relief, health care, and education programs, something that gets everybody involved. You know, I've been in the lumber and the building material business my entire career and worked a lot of building houses and real estate development. Love being on the mission field and helping with some of those other programs. And one of my best friends that got me involved in the mission field locally was Millard Fuller, and Millard was the founder of Habitat for Humanity back in 1976. And so I had the privilege of traveling with Millard, both internationally and here in the United States, and loved the ministry of building houses and providing hope for families and a firm foundation to raise families. But we wanted to see about doing something more than just the housing, because we found that everybody that was getting one of these houses really had a number of other different needs, such as they had food insecurity, they had health issues, and they had a lack of opportunities in education. So that was really the birth of the People Helping People Network, to bring those wraparound services in to the housing ministry. But also, on a selfish note, you know, my wife never was really interested or not too keen on getting out on the construction field and building houses. So I wanted to find another opportunity to get my family involved, to get my wife involved in ministry. And so with bringing on all the other opportunities in missions, that really got our entire family involved in missions.
Let's talk about these last 20 years, because I imagine, like anything, you start it, you kind of have a vision, you think you know how it's going to go, you think you know how you're going to help people, and then it looks completely different. Things change, the unknown happens, none of us understand the future. What has surprised you about what people have needed and how you've been able to come alongside them over the last 20 years?
Well, I think the biggest surprise in all of it has really been the people that's come along with us. I mean, every time we go on one of these trips, we take people, we invite them to come and join us and be a part of the mission and help us on some of the construction sites. And then there's always needs all around us. And somebody will see a need and they'll say, hey, you know, I think I can do that. I think I could help you with the feeding program. Or I think I can help you with the healthcare issue. And the people that have come around to bring these services together is just incredible. It all started with just one house. And just last year, when we were there, we took a vision trip and we took a team there to see the housing program and all the other things that we've been doing. But we celebrated house number 500. We've built 500 homes in El Salvador.
Wow.
And it's just been an incredible thing. But with that, we've continued doing these feeding programs and we've distributed millions of meals through our partners. We've got a number of different partners in feeding, such as Convoy of Hope, the World Food Program, Midwest Food Bank, all of those, Kids Against Hunger, Manna Missions, all of those partners have just come on board with us. They see what we've been doing, they like what we've been doing, And many of these people have been part of our vision trip, and they say, hey, we want to be a part of the team, we want to help. And that has probably surprised me the most, is how many people have come forward and the resources that they bring and the synergies that's been created has just been incredible. I mean, it's a total God thing, because it's anything that I could ever do. I'm just very grateful, very privileged and honored to just be along for the ride. And that's truly how I feel today. I feel like I'm along for the ride. I mean, God has brought so many new opportunities for us. I mean, there in Central America, we built a children's hospital. And that was just a couple of local doctors that went with us on a vision trip, saw the need within the country, and said, hey, is there a burn center anywhere within the country? Because in Central America, there's a lot of burn victims, and they really die from some first-degree burns, a lot of times just from infections, simple things that you would never dream of here in a first world country. In a third world country, it's devastating. They saw the need firsthand, and they said, hey, let's build a burn center. We went on a fundraising tour to try to raise the money to do it with a couple of these doctors from Indiana. And a few years later, we built it. We opened it in 2010. Now it's the only burn center servicing all of Central America that's located in El Salvador. And again, that was just people that was going along for the ride with us on our trip to our vision trip that brought us along and brought that to us. Amazing
when God brings people together, works things together in ways we can't see or understand, and it's such a beautiful thing. We're going to continue our conversation with Jeff. He's agreed to stay with us for a second segment, so we will be right back for part 2 of our conversation with Jeff Cardwell. Welcome back to Restoring Hope with Crosswinds Counseling. I'm Curtis Smith. We're continuing our conversation with Jeff Cardwell, the founder of the People Helping People Network and the owner of Cardwell Do It Best. Jeff, thanks for spending a little more time with us.
It's a pleasure to be here.
I want to circle back to that first mission trip you mentioned some 20 years ago that you didn't want to go on, and it has yielded this incredible ministry that you've been leading for the past couple of decades. Tell me a little bit more about the change in your heart. What happened to you? What was that experience like? So we know that you went on the trip, you came back, you did something, and you've helped thousands of people. What happened internally? What did God do to you, with you, through you on that trip?
Well, I'm in the lumber and building material business. I spent my entire career in that commodities business. And our business is very busy and relies on the summertime. So you got to make hay when the sun shines, you know?
Right.
And that's the reason I really didn't want to go at that particular time. In June of 2000, we were extremely busy. We had several development, building houses. Our lumber business and our hardware business was booming. And I thought, this is the worst time for me to step away and go, But my 11-year-old daughter was the youngest on the youth group that was going on this trip, and my wife was not too thrilled about her going. I said yes before I really talked to my wife about it, which was a huge mistake.
That is never a good idea.
Yeah. And so to make a long story short, I ended up going and being a chaperone. And quickly as we arrived, we got on a bus and we were heading to the camp, to the mission camp. And one of the translators, another young little girl, was the translator, sat next to my daughter. They became just instant good friends and talked the whole ride on the bus ride. We get to the camp, and as we get to the camp, it's a beautiful place on the side of a mountain in the rim of a volcano. And all the kids ran off, and they were doing great things, and it was very hot. And so I sat underneath a tree, and I was kind of just cooling off. And as I was sitting there underneath the tree, another gentleman was sitting there, and I could see that he was stressed and he was really troubled, and he'd been there for a long time. He was from Houston, Texas. And I asked him, I said, hey, so what's going on? He says, well, I'm managing all of these construction projects here. I'm building the dorms for the camps and different things. And I said, well, it looks like you're about finished. And he says, well, no, that building over there, he said, it's been that way for several years. And I said, oh, really? I said, well, how come? He said, we just have a really hard time getting materials here. We have a hard time, resourcing the items we need to finish it. And so I walked the building with him, and we looked through, and he was just needing some of the basic materials. And as we was walking through, he was sharing some of the needs, and you could tell it was a very big stress point for him. And I thought, as he was asking for help with all of these different things, I was thinking, everything that he's talking about, I have available sitting in my warehouse right now. And as we finished up, I said, hey, if you can get me to a phone, I said, I can solve these problems. I can get you the materials you need, and we'll get them shipped down here. And he just, he was elated. He couldn't believe it. And it was really at that moment that was a light switch moment for me, that I thought, I know a lot of medical doctors and a lot of friends that goes on mission trips, and I've heard the missionaries come into my church many times, and I was always real excited about some of the mission trips and some of the stories they would tell, and I thought, that's adventure travel. That's the type of travel that I really want to do, but I'm not a doctor, and I thought, how can God ever use me? And it was that light switch moment there that I felt that God could use me in the mission field, sourcing these materials to help them in their building projects, and that's really how it got started. And that was the moment that I felt God calling me to the mission field to help in these situations.
Wow. And here you are more than 20 years later. What do you think the future looks like for People Helping People Network? What's on the horizon for you?
Well, there's people that's probably watching this program that's looking for opportunities. I know many successful people that are looking for significance. There's a lot of people out there looking for significance in life. And God can use all of us, every one of us. People that's watching this program that thinks, hey, God can never use me. God's had you on the training field your entire life, and there's skills that you have that are needed on the mission field today. And if you want to go on a vision trip, if somebody wants to travel with us and see anything to do with housing, hunger relief, healthcare, or education training programs, come join us. They can go to our website at phpnetwork.org. PHP for People Helping People, phpnetwork.org. You can go to our website, you can see a video, you can see some of the things that we've been doing, but there's a place for everybody. There's a place for everyone to fit in, and join us on a vision trip and just see what God has for you.
I love that mentality. Real quick before we go, I know that the hardware, the lumber business has been crazy through the pandemic. As I don't know if we're out of it or coming out of it. I don't know what phase of life we're in, but wherever we are here in the summer of 22, how is life for you on the business side? Are things somewhat stable, or is it continuing to be crazy?
Well, there's still supply chain issues, but things are really booming. I mean, there's huge demand, but we do see the supply chain issues. A lot of raw materials are not available. So whether it's the paint commodity items, whether it's the lumber commodities, just general everyday hardware, there's been this big shift of a lot of people working from home. You got people, homeowners now are taking the third or the fourth bedroom and converting them to office space and redecorating, redoing. And but business has been very, very good. We're very blessed. We're very grateful for it. And we're just going to continue in the fight.
That's wonderful. Jeff, thank you so much for being with us tonight, of course, but even more so for just having a heart that was open to God's call in your life and to helping people. It's such a beautiful picture of, I think, what God wants us to do, what His kingdom looks like, us coming together in community, and the fact that you have spread that out and helped build more than 500 homes and helped thousands of people in so many ways. It's amazing. So thank you for all of that.
Thank you. I thank you for the opportunity. And we're still building houses in El Salvador, and we're building here some locally as well.
Wonderful. Jeff Cardwell, thank you so much. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Each week here on Restoring Hope, we focus on the most important word in our title, hope. Tonight, Crosswinds executive Abe Hepler is back with us to look at the hope we can find in the book of Revelation.
Hi, my name's Abe. I'm one of the executives at Crosswinds. The last book in the Bible is a book called Revelation. Revelation is a fascinating book that's full of all kinds of really weird things, honestly. But it's a vision. The book of Revelation was actually a vision that was given to a man named John by Jesus Christ himself. And As John sees Jesus in this vision for the first time, Jesus makes a statement that I want us to look at together today. Jesus says this, "Do not be afraid. I am the first and the last. I am the living one. I was dead, and behold, I am alive forever and ever, and I hold the keys to death and hell." Now, one of the things that I find so fascinating about this passage is that Jesus starts this interaction with John by telling him not to be afraid. Do not be afraid. And this is important for us as a starting point too, because there are all kinds of things in our world that can make us afraid, that can create worry and doubt and stress and anxiety. Jesus goes on to make a statement after that to John, and he says, "I am the living one." Now, one of the things that's interesting about this is that John was with Jesus when Jesus died. John actually watched Jesus die, but Jesus appears to him alive again and says, "I am the living one." And the important thing for us to remember about that is that as Christians, lots of times we focus our faith on the death of Jesus. But the resurrection of Jesus is what's most important for us. Jesus is not dead. He is alive. And he goes on to say to John, "I am the first and the last." Jesus is making the point that he was at the beginning of all things. He will be at the end of all things. And today, he is. Jesus is alive today, and he is actually waiting on us to reach out to him in our day-to-day lives and seek him to be a part of who we are and what we're doing. But Jesus then makes a comment, and he says this, "I hold the keys of death and hell." And if Jesus is in control of these things, these incredibly big things that can create fear in our world, things like death and sickness, if Jesus is in control of those things, then Jesus is also in control of the little things that you and I face every single day. Jesus has the power to meet you where you are right now and help you with whatever it is you're facing.
Welcome back to Restoring Hope with Crosswinds Counseling. In this week's Counseling Corner segment, Tim Gilliand is here to talk about one of the core tenets of the Christian faith, forgiveness.
Hi, I'm Tim Gilliand, licensed therapist and clinical supervisor here at Crosswinds. Today I want to talk to you about something that I usually spend some time working on with almost all of my clients because it affects us all at some level, and that is the hurt and the pain that we carry from all kinds of situations in our past. Everybody has this, some different degrees, different situations, but the feeling, the emotions that come with that are the same. We carry this hurt and this pain. So what do we do about it? I tell my clients you have three options when you have this. First option, revenge. They hurt you, hurt them back. What's the problem with that though? It's a cycle. They hurt you, you hurt them, they're gonna hurt you again, and we're just gonna keep going on and on forever. But it's an option. It doesn't solve the problem though. So let's go on. Option two is what I feel like most people end up doing, and that's just finding some way to live with the pain, okay? I'm going to push it to the side, I'm gonna shove it down deep, I'm gonna ignore it, I'm gonna distract myself, and just hope that it doesn't come back. And the problem though is if we stuff and we stuff and we stuff something, eventually that thing will blow up. And then what do? We start stuffing again. So it's a cycle, it's gonna keep going on. It hasn't solved the problem still. So both those first two options, not solving it. There's one option left, and that is the hardest one, and that's forgiveness. Forgiveness is choosing to treat someone not as though they deserve. It's not saying what they did was right, but it's saying, I'm gonna choose to treat you the right way regardless. And it's hard, and it takes a lot of work. But I wanna give you one little piece on it today, and that is that forgiveness is for you. It's not for them. Okay, so let me prove that to you. Walk with me for a second. Imagine you're a third grader on the playground. Little Johnny comes up and he pops you in the nose. You go home that night, you're hurt, you're angry, you're upset, you're stewing over it, right? What's little Johnny doing that night? He's doing his own thing. He's not thinking about it. He's not thinking about it. It's not bothering him. It's bothering you. So does little Johnny need your forgiveness? No. He's fine. Do you need to forgive him? Yes, it's for you. And there's so much more on forgiveness we need to talk about. It's so much of a bigger concept than most people realize. So myself, the other therapists here at Crosswinds, would love the chance to walk you down that path of healing that comes through forgiveness.
Finally tonight, a reminder, if you're a counselor or a therapist, Crosswinds Counseling is hiring. We need great women and men to join the organization to provide help to so many people in need. Well, thank you all for joining us tonight, and thank you to our partners who make it possible for us to be here at WHMB TV 40 every week: Tesco, Prime 47 Downtown, and Shepherd Community Center. We'll be back Thursday night at 9:30. We'll see you next week right here on WHMB TV 40. Be blessed.